So how come you love Porsches?
I love Porsches because I don't know, I guess they remind me of my dad. Really, when it comes down to it. You know, but then again, I mean, when I still had my dad, I loved Porsches. You know, when I was a little kid, they always fascinated me, seeing a new car come home every night. And I collected little Hot Wheels, and I loved having Porsche Hot Wheels. And I'd bring them both to my dad and say, which one's faster? You know, he'd tell me why. You know, oh, this one has a V8 or this one has a turbo. So I guess Porsches have always been at the center of my life. What surprised me the most about reopening my dad's shop and starting the business back up again would be the reach that we've had across the country and how big of a need there is for vintage car mechanics, vintage Porsche mechanics, vintage Porsche machinists, vintage Porsche body guys, vintage Porsche everything. The cars aren't going anywhere, but the people that work on them are. I think people have a lot of distrust in mechanics and shops, rightfully so. And I don't think shops are doing a good enough of a job helping people understand what they're doing and why it needs to be done. I'd say what makes us most unique is how we sort through cars. And you see this really badly with restored cars. You know, they look great and they sound great, but it's like, does everything really work? A lot of these guys that own these cars, they really don't even realize how they should be. If you weren't around back when they were new, you really don't, I mean, all you know is what you have. And I think people find that exciting, how we can actually bring the car back to its old life of having everything function properly, and it makes for a much better car. This car's been in 2 Porsche shops in the last probably 4 months. You know, it had a PPI done, it's had all kinds of work done to it, and you know, it's just like filthy. So like part of what we're doing on this car is going through and like fixing all the nasty rusty stuff. You know, it doesn't really affect the way the car runs, but like the car is so nice on the outside, you want it nice underneath too. You know, it's like it should look like someone cares. So you know, it had a rusted out muffler, so we replaced the muffler, and you know, it's like the brake lines are super corroded, so we just cleaned those up, and we're doing some powder coating on the sway bars, replating the hardware, so just trying to make the underside look like the top side. To rebuild engines and transmissions on these old parts and cars take a lot of specialty machine work. So that's kind of where it all starts. You know, when you're rebuilding an engine or you're rebuilding a transmission, you need to make sure the machining is good before anything else. And that's one challenge in the industry, is finding good machine shops. If you ask any Porsche shop around, you know, what's it like sending out an engine or a cylinder heads, and you know, they roll their eyes and it's like, oh well, you know, that's the worst part, because you send your stuff off and you basically kiss it goodbye. So that's why we got into doing that, so we're not at the mercy of other shops. So when we machine these flat again, you know, they get grooves in them, so we have to just like remachine the surfaces. It's like ultra critical that we keep them all the exact same height, you know, because if they're different heights, then it screws with the camshaft. So what I'm reading here is like, you know, each graduation is 1/1000th of an inch. You know, and for reference, if you pull out a single hair, you know, see that hair right there? You know, that's 2/1000ths of an inch thick, right? So each graduation is half the thickness of one hair. So that's like what we're measuring down to. what we're striving for when we paint a car is to make it look like it wasn't painted. Really, we're not trying to go for anything overly fancy. We're trying to get it as good as Porsche did, which was pretty good. But we're very mindful of the products we use. So if it was originally a single stage car, we want to use single stage paint. If it was a metallic car, then that's a base clear paint. When we can, and when budget allows, we like to use the original paint that they were painted with. Like, for instance, we have the green car up on the rack there. That car's painted with the original paint that it was painted with at the factory. Yeah, and that's our goal, originality. I think the most important thing people should know, and you can't really tell someone this, but you can trust us with your car. We're gonna do right by the car. We don't have our own crazy ideas of how things should be. We know how they should be, right? I mean, we see them every day. We want the cars to be like Porsche made them. We get calls from all over the country. A lot of times people say, hey, I've been on your website, or hey, I've seen your video, and I think what you guys are doing are really great. For the most part, everyone's very, very positive and supportive, and just grateful to find someone that they think they can trust, and someone they think will care, about their car as much as they do. The best thing to do is to get them in the shop with their car and show them around, show them what we do. I show them all the engines we're rebuilding and all the specialty machining we're doing, all the great service work. And I think at that point, most people, they look around and realize, okay, I'm in the right place. If I have an old air-cooled Porsche, this is where I need to take it.